and Route 66, somewhere between Albuquerque and Santa, New Mexico. 11:30 p.m. on a Friday night, and the kind of empty highway where you can go 20 miles without seeing another car. Wolf Jackson was riding solo, heading back from a chapter meeting in Texas, and when he saw the gas station, one of those old independently owned places that looked like it hadn't been updated since 1987, flickering neon sign, 2 pumps, and a bathroom around the side. He needed fuel. What he found instead changed everything. Wolf pulled up to the pump, killed his engine, and that's when he heard it, and a sound so faint he almost missed it. Crying. A child crying. Coming from the women's restroom. He looked around. There were 2 other vehicles at the station, and a black SUV with tinted windows idling near the air pump, and a beat-up sedan with the driver's door still open, interior light on, but nobody inside. Something was wrong, and Wolf had spent 27 years in the Hells Angels. He knew the smell of danger. This reeked of it. He walked toward the restroom, and the crying got louder, and he knocked gently. "Hey, anyone in there? You okay?" The crying stopped immediately. Then a small voice, barely a whisper. "Go away, and they'll hurt you too." Wolf's blood went cold. "Who's going to hurt me? The bad men. They killed our mommy. And now they're looking for us." If this opening just grabbed your heart, drop a comment saying, "Protect them." Wolf's hand went to his phone. "I'm coming in, okay? And I'm not gonna hurt you. I promise." He pushed the door open slowly. What he saw made his jaw clench so hard his teeth hurt. 2 children. A little girl, and maybe 7 years old, and a little boy who couldn't have been more than 5. Both covered in blood. Not their blood, he realized. Someone else's. And the little girl was holding her brother, who was shaking so violently his teeth were chattering. They were backed into the corner between the toilet and the wall, and eyes wide with terror. The little girl had positioned herself in front of her brother, protecting him even though she was just a child herself. "And my name is Wolf," he said softly, kneeling down to their level. "What are your names?" The little girl stared at him, at his leather vest, at the Hells Angels patch, and at the scars on his face. And something in her seemed to calculate the odds. He looked dangerous. But so were the men outside. "I'm Emma. This is my brother Tommy, and our mommy Her voice broke. "She told us to run. So we ran. We hid here. But the men there outside, they keep checking. If they find us, and they're not gonna find you," Wolf said. "I promise." He looked at the blood on their clothes. "Emma, are you hurt? Is Tommy hurt?" She shook her head. "And it's mommy's blood. They shot her. In our car. We were driving and she pulled over because she said she saw them following us. She told us to get out and run, and we heard the gun." "We heard." She couldn't finish. Tommy started crying again, burying his face in his sister's shoulder, and Wolf felt rage building in his chest like a wildfire. "Okay, listen to me very carefully. I'm going to get you both somewhere safe, but I need you to be brave a little bit longer. Can you do that?" Emma nodded. Before Wolf could move, he heard footsteps outside. Heavy boots. 2 men. "And check that bathroom again," a voice said. "They're kids. They can't have gone far. And if anyone saw them, we got a problem." Wolf moved fast. He scooped up both children, and one in each arm. They were tiny. Emma couldn't have weighed more than 50 pounds. Tommy even less. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "And no matter what." He stepped out of the bathroom just as 2 men rounded the corner. They were exactly what you'd expect. Mid-30s, and tactical gear under civilian jackets, visible weapons. Professional military trained. This wasn't some street crime. This was organized. The taller one, and a guy with a buzz cut and a scar across his jaw, stopped when he saw Wolf. "That's a women's bathroom, buddy. You lost. Found these kids hiding inside," Wolf said calmly. "And they said something about their mother. You guys know anything about that?" The 2 men exchanged a glance. The second one, shorter, and with cold eyes and a tattoo on his neck, smiled. But it didn't reach his eyes. "Yet actually. Those are our boss's kids. Custody dispute. Ex-wife took off with them. And we've been looking everywhere." "That true, Emma?" Wolf asked, looking down at the little girl in his arms. She was smart. She understood what was happening, and if she said yes, Wolf might hand them over. If she said no, these men might just shoot all 3 of them right here. Her voice came out small but clear, and "I don't know them." The shorter man's smile disappeared. "Look, man, we don't want trouble, and just hand over the kids and everyone walks away happy." "Here's the thing," Wolf said. "I don't think you're getting these kids. And I think you know that, and Stay with me because what happens when Wolf sends one text message is about to bring an entire Hell's Angels chapter down on these killers. But first, and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and comment what country you're watching from. Now let's continue. The taller man's hand moved toward his jacket. Wolf saw it. And, I wouldn't, he said, his voice dropping to something cold and lethal. There's a security camera right there. You pull that gun, you're on video. And then you've got a dead biker, 2 dead kids, and every cop in 3 states hunting you. That what you want? The man hesitated. Wolf took advantage of the moment, and he pulled out his phone with one hand, keeping the kids held tight with other. He pressed a button. Voice dial. Call Axel. The phone rang once. Wolf, and what's up? I need the crew. Route 66 mile marker 203. Desert Wind gas station. 2 kids whose mother was just murdered. Killers are standing in front of me right now. And how fast can you get here? We're 30 minutes out. Already riding. Make it 20. The shorter man stepped forward. And? You just made a very bad decision. No, Wolf said. You made a bad decision when you murdered their mother in front of them. And I'm just correcting it. He backed toward his Harley, still holding the kids. Emma had her arms wrapped around his neck so tight he could barely breathe. And Tommy was silent now, just staring at the 2 men with eyes that had seen too much. The killers didn't follow. Not yet. They knew how this worked. If they shot Wolf here, and in the open, they'd have problems. But if they waited, followed, found an opportunity, that was different. Wolf got to his bike. He couldn't ride with both kids, and not safely. But he couldn't leave them. And he couldn't wait here. The killers were already moving back toward their SUV. They'd follow him. Try to run him off the road, and or worse. He needed time. Wolf looked at the beat-up sedan with the door still open. Emma's mother's car. He walked over, kids still in his arms. And the inside was exactly as you'd expect. Car seats in the back. One for a 7-year-old, one for a 5-year-old. Blood on the driver's seat. So much blood, and Wolf's jaw clenched. He set the kids down gently. Emma, I need you to listen. We're going to take your mom's car. I'm going to drive. And you and Tommy are going to get in the back and put on your seatbelts. Okay? But the bad men are going to try to follow us. But my friends are coming, and I promise you, we're not going to let them hurt you. He got them into the car, buckled them in, and then he did something that would have made any cop cringe, and he hot-wired the ignition. 30 seconds later, the engine turned over. As he pulled out of the gas station, he saw the black SUV's headlights come on, and they were following. Of course they were. Wolf had been in high-speed chases before. Being shot at, run off roads, crashed more times than he could count, but that was when he was alone. When the only life at risk was his own. This was different. He had 2 kids in the back seat. Kids who'd just watched their mother die. And kids who were counting on him to keep them alive. He couldn't afford to make a single mistake. Emma, Tommy, I need you both to get down on the floor behind my seat, okay? And stay down no matter what you hear. Are they going to shoot us? Tommy asked. His first words since Wolf found them. Not if I can help it, and buddy, the SUV was gaining. Route 66 was empty. No other cars, no witnesses. Just desert and darkness. Wolf pushed the sedan faster. It wasn't built for speed, and the engine whined. But it held. His phone rang. Axel. Wolf, we're 15 minutes out. What's your situation? Being pursued by a black SUV. 2 armed men inside. And the kids are with me. They saw their mother murdered. These aren't amateurs. And can you hold them off for 15 minutes? I don't have a choice. That's when the first shot came. It shattered the back window. Emma screamed, and Tommy started crying again. Wolf swerved, keeping the car on the road. Another shot, this one hit the trunk. Emma, Tommy, stay down, Wolf yelled. He yanked the wheel, and pulling off Route 66 onto a dirt road that cut into the desert. The sedan bounced violently, but it created distance. The SUV followed, but it was heavier and slower on the rough terrain. If your heart is pounding right now, hit that like button. Wolf's mind raced. He needed to keep the kids safe, and needed to survive until Axel arrived. Needed to make sure these men didn't get away. He saw it up ahead, an old collapsed building. Maybe a rest stop from decades ago, and stone walls still partially standing. He made a decision. He skidded to a stop behind the building, grabbed both kids. Run. Stay behind me, and don't stop. They ran. Wolf could hear the SUV closing in. He got the kids behind a section of wall, thick enough to stop bullets, And then he pulled out something he'd carried for 20 years and never wanted to use around children. A .45 caliber handgun. Emma, Tommy, and cover your ears and close your eyes. The SUV screeched to a stop. Doors opened, footsteps, the two men advancing, and, "You're just making this harder on yourself," the tall one shouted. The kids! This doesn't have to end badly for you." Wolf didn't respond, and he was calculating angles, sight lines. He'd been in firefights before, but never like this. Never with two children crouched behind him, depending on him, and the shorter man appeared around the corner of the wall. Wolf didn't hesitate one shot. Center mass. The man went down. The tall one opened fire, and bullets ricocheted off stone. Wolf pulled the kids closer, covering them with his body. He returned fire. Once, twice. The tall man ducked back behind the SUV, and, "You just killed my partner," he screamed. "You murdered a mother in front of her children," Wolf shouted back.
"I'm just balancing the scales."
And then he heard it, and the most beautiful sound in the world, the roar of motorcycles, not just one or two, 7. The entire Hell's Angels chapter Axel had called, and they came over the ridge like something out of a movie. Headlights cutting through the darkness, engines roaring, a wall of leather and chrome and fury, and the tall man saw them. He knew he was done. He tried to run, made it maybe 20 feet before Axel, a massive man with a red beard and arms like tree trunks, and tackled him to the ground. It was over in seconds. Wolf stood, his legs shaking from adrenaline. He looked down at Emma and Tommy. Both were crying, but alive, safe, and, "It's okay," he said softly. "It's over. You're safe now." Axel held the tall man's hands behind his back. "Wolf, you good?" "Yeah." "Kids?" "Unharmed. And physically, at least." Another member, a woman named Iris with purple hair and more tattoos than skin, knelt down next to Emma and Tommy. "Hey, sweethearts, and my name is Iris. I know tonight was really scary, but you're safe now. These big tough guys, and they're gonna make sure nothing bad happens to you ever again." Emma looked up at Wolf. "Is that true?" Wolf nodded. "That's true." They called the police, and New Mexico State Police arrived within 30 minutes, along with FBI. Because what Wolf didn't know yet, what he was about to find out, and was that this wasn't just a random murder. Emma and Tommy's mother was Rebecca Ortiz. She was a federal witness, and she'd been scheduled to testify in a corruption case involving a cartel-connected judge. The two men weren't just killers. They were cartel enforcers. And Emma and Tommy, and they were loose ends. FBI Special Agent Linda Vasquez took Wolf aside while Eames checked the kids. "Mr. Jackson, you just saved 2 lives, but you also just inserted yourself into a federal case. We're going to need your statement, all of it." "You'll get it," Wolf said. "But those kids, and where are they going?" "Foster care, probably. Until we can locate next of kin." "No." Linda raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me. Those kids just watched their mother die, and they're traumatized, terrified. You put them in a system with strangers, you're going to break them. They need stability. Someone they trust, and you think that's you?" Linda asked. "I think I'm the guy who promised them they'd be safe, and I keep my promises." Linda studied him. His Hell's Angels vest, and his scarred face, the gun still holstered at his side. Everything about him screamed dangerous. But then she looked at Emma and Tommy, and both sitting in the back of an ambulance. Both refusing to let go of each other, and both looking over at Wolf every few seconds. Like he was their anchor, and, like if he disappeared, they'd drown. "I'll see what I can do." Linda, the next 72 hours were a blur. Wolf gave his statement. The 2 cartel enforcers, and 1 dead, 1 in custody, were identified. The shorter one Wolf had shot was named Vincent Cruz, wanted in 3 states. The tall one, still alive, and was named Michael Reeves. He started talking within hours, gave up names, locations, connections, and the corruption case that Rebecca Ortiz was supposed to testify in exploded. Arrests were made. A federal judge, 2 prosecutors, and 5 law enforcement officers were indicted. But Wolf didn't care about any of that. He cared about Emma and Tommy, and they'd been placed in temporary emergency foster care while CPS tried to locate family. But Rebecca Ortiz had no living relatives. Her parents were dead, no siblings, and Tommy and Emma's father had died 3 years earlier. Cancer. There was no one. Linda Vasquez called Wolf on day 4. "The kids keep asking for you, and the foster family says they're not eating, not sleeping, just sitting by the window." "Where are they?" "Wolf, you're not family. You're not even a licensed foster parent, and I can't just..." "Where are they?" She gave him the address. Wolf showed up an hour later. When Emma saw him through the window, she started crying, and happy tears this time. She ran outside, Tommy right behind her. They both hugged him. "You came back," Emma said. "And you came back. I told you I would." Linda was there too. "Wolf, I talked to my supervisors, and I talked to a family court judge I trust. What you did, and saving these kids, it matters. But more than that, they trust you. And in cases like this, where there's no family, where the children have experienced severe trauma, and sometimes the court will make exceptions." "What kind of exceptions?" "Emergency foster placement with someone the children have bonded with. It's temporary. 3 months. And during that time you'd be evaluated. Background checks, home visits, counseling oversight. If everything checks out, and it could become permanent." Wolf looked down at Emma and Tommy. "You mean adopt them?" "Eventually, yes. If that's what you want, and if that's what they want." Emma grabbed his hand. "Please, Mr. Wolf, please don't leave us." Something in Wolf's chest cracked wide open. He'd lived a hard life, and made bad choices. Hurt people. Spent time in prison. He was the last person who should be raising kids. But when he looked at Emma's face, at Tommy's hopeful eyes, and he knew this was his second chance. Not just for them, for himself. He said, "Okay, let's do this. If this moment is hitting you in the heart, and smash that like and comment. Family is everything." The first month was chaos. Wolf had no idea how to take care of kids, and he lived in a 2-bedroom apartment above a garage. Worked as a mechanic, his life revolved around motorcycles, the club, and not much else. And suddenly he had to learn about bedtimes, healthy meals, school enrollment, and nightmares. Because Emma and Tommy had nightmares. Every single night, and they'd wake up screaming, convinced the bad men were coming back. Wolf would sit with them, sometimes all night, just talking, telling them stories about his own life and the good parts. The parts where he'd helped people, where he'd stood up for what was right. Slowly, carefully, they started to heal. The Hells Angels chapter helped, and Iris became a regular visitor. She was good with kids. Patient kind. She taught Emma how to braid hair, taught Tommy how to draw. Axel showed up with toys, and other members brought clothes, books, food. The media caught the story. Hell's Angel becomes foster father to cartel victims. Some people praised Wolf, and others said he was unfit, that a biker, an outlaw, had no business raising children. But Wolf didn't care. He cared about Emma asking him to read her a bedtime story, and about Tommy calling him Mr. Wolf, and then one day just Wolf. And then, 3 months in, something else. "Dad," Tommy said at first. They were having breakfast, and pancakes that Wolf had burned slightly but Tommy ate anyway. "Dad, can you pass the syrup?" Wolf froze. Emma looked at her brother, then at Wolf. "And, is it okay if we call you that?" she asked quietly. "If we call you Dad?" Wolf had been shot, stabbed, beaten, arrested, and lived through more pain than most people could imagine. But nothing had ever hit him as hard as that question. "Yeah," he said, his voice rough. "Yeah, and that's okay." 6 months later, the adoption was finalized. Emma and Tommy Ortiz became Emma and Tommy Jackson. The judge, the same one Linda had recommended, and looked at Wolf during the final hearing. "Mr. Jackson, I've reviewed your history. You're not a perfect man. You've made mistakes. But you've also shown these children what it means to stand up when it matters. To protect the innocent. To keep your promises. That's what being a father is. And welcome to the hardest job you'll ever have." Wolf took Emma and Tommy out for ice cream afterward. They sat in a park, watching other families. Being a family themselves. "And Dad," Emma said. "Yeah. Do you think Mommy would be happy that we're with you?" Wolf thought about Rebecca Ortiz. About a mother who told her kids to run, and who sacrificed herself so they could live. "I think your mom is watching, and I think she's proud of you. Both of you. You're brave. You're strong, and you're loved." Tommy climbed into his lap. "We'll love you too, Dad." Life wasn't perfect. There were still hard days, therapy appointments, and moments when Emma would see someone who looked like the bad men and panic. Times when Tommy would wake up crying for his birth mother. But there were good days too. And school plays where Wolf sat in the front row wearing his Hells Angels vest and crying when Emma sang. Soccer games where Tommy scored a goal and ran to hug him. Birthdays and holidays. Normal, beautiful, ordinary moments. And Wolf realized something. Redemption wasn't about erasing the past. It was about choosing differently today, and about being there when it mattered. About protecting the innocent. The Hells Angel chapter changed too. Word spread about what Wolf had done, and other members started paying attention. Looking for ways to help, they organized toy drives for foster kids, fundraisers for child advocacy centers, and became the kind of people who scared predators, not children. Because sometimes the most dangerous-looking people are exactly who you need when everything goes wrong. And sometimes the outlaws are the ones with the strongest sense of justice. And sometimes, all it takes is a little girl and a little boy whispering, "Please," and "Mister," to change the entire trajectory of a life. Wolf still rides, still wears his patch, still lives by the Hells Angels code. But now he also coaches Tommy's Little League team, helps Emma with her homework, shows up at parent-teacher conferences, and every night before bed, and he tells them the same thing: "You're safe, you're loved, and nobody's ever gonna hurt you again. Dad's got you." If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. And share this so others can see that heroes come in all forms. Drop a comment telling me which part made you feel the most. Because these stories matter, and they remind us that it's never too late to choose good. And that family isn't just blood. Sometimes it's a promise kept in the darkness, and sometimes it's a biker who refused to walk away. And that's worth everything.